The digital era has made the clubs and the society irrelevant. So is it true? I would say by seeing you people here this afternoon, it's not irrelevant. If we can have a group of people here who participate, communicate, socialize with each other so pleasantly, it's not irrelevant if it can be so simply decided. Just to go back to the government and the South African National Biodiversity Institute, I looked it up this day. Each one of you, if you're a member of the society, pays exactly 150 Rand each to the Clivia Society. You pay whatever you do to your local club. So the society is making do with 150 Rand per person, times say 600 is what, 90, something like that. So to do with 90,000, that's not profit. We still got to pay for the publications, pay for this, pay for that. So what do you think the society can do with that amount of money? It's got no influence on anything. And to say, like I'm criticizing, I'm picking out Andre there, he expects the society to do something to stop the stripping of nature. We have got no legal might at all. We've got no policeman employed by us. We couldn't even afford to pay a policeman for a year. So there is nothing physically that society can do. If they really wanted to do something, they could approach their members of parliament and motivate through their parties to the Department of Nature Conservation. So look here, what the government spends exactly 0.7% of their total budget on nature conservation, or I don't think it's just nature okay, but it works out at, in 2014, 10 billion. 0.7 is a third of the rest of the world. So the priority is certainly not nature conservation. The worry is not the preservation of Clivia. They're more concerned about cycads, rhino. And if you talk to the Cycad Society, they claim that the rarity of the cycads is far more important than the rhinos. So don't think that the Clivias have any role at all. Okay, so I just want to say, for example, say many of you here talk to each other and you say, I know so-and-so, and they're involved with stripping Clivia. I just want to mention now, if many of us talk about so-and-so, they're selling Nobilis. This one's selling interspecifics to China. Let's put what you say China. And there's a market there, it's ready. I have received emails, they say, I'm looking for interspecifics, can you send me a price list? I said, no, I can't do this phytosanitary thing. They say, don't you worry, you send it to Cape Town, that's all you need to do. Now, am I an accessory before the fact by agreeing to do that? I am, in fact, guilty and promoting perhaps, but I could make money. And all of us, a lot of the motivation is merely money. And does it really matter? They're going to catch me because surely within 5 or 10 years' time, there'll be no demand for Nobilis anymore, so I may as well take advantage of the market. But the fact is, who of you, I've spoken to like Andre de Toy, I said, would he whistleblow on his friend, say Henny, if he found out he was selling plants? So his answer was very diplomatic. He said, I would first confront him and say, I'm not happy with what you're doing, your practices, and if you don't stop, he said he would be prepared to report him. I don't know whether that's true because they're too good a friend, but he claims he would do that. But I mean, who wants to, who would report? I mean, Paul, would you go and report, say you knew somebody? Anyway, the fact is it's very difficult to report a friend to nature conservation because the only place that you can report is the green scorpions. And I did hear somebody say that the green scorpions, they've increased the number, but maybe from 0 to 1 it's infinity, but it's not enough. And then what is usually here, the same thing, decreased budget, poaching, understaffing, and now we want them to look after or monitor the rape of the field of Clivias. Remember, the good thing about them taking the Clivias, going to China, they'll be looked after. And soon we'll go there to see Nobilis. But the fact is, they're not destroyed, they're not eaten like locally. But they probably think it'll be sustained because they only eat so many Nobilis and they'll live. But now you've got the Chinese or whomever also utilizing them, so you're going to have a problem. Okay, so now let's face this digital era, because what is amazing, basically your digital era started at the beginning of this century. And what's also interesting, the Clivia Society as a name started in 2001. The first interest was like in 93, Nick Primich circulated a letter. So now you're going to have a history a lesson. But they all say that if you don't know your history, then you're useless. So I'm going to remind you all where we started and how we've gone downhill from then. Okay, so 93, Nick Primich apparently advertised in Felton Flora, and he asked whether anybody's interested in Clivia. And it was a good response. So in 94, they formed the Clivia Club with James Abel there. It was called the Clivia Club. And in 94, they also had a show at the Pretoria Botanical Gardens. And that was the first conference as well, 94. But the first yearbook came out in the next, after 4 more years, where that was held in the Cape, 98. So that's what started. So now, despite the 2001, the Digital Society skyrocketed. We started in 93, enormous enthusiasm. 2001, the Society, I think maybe it was the Cape, because they took over in 2001, they stuffed it up. So now the Clivia Society, how do we know if we're doing well, we're doing badly, are we succeeding, are we going downhill? The only way we can really monitor it is by the membership of this society and how it's declining. Is it going down like this, or is it gradually decreasing in number? Now, the internet, as you know, shows no sign of slowing down, and it's not going to slow down. Everybody wants the internet, immediate contact communication. The advantages are too big. But is the membership decline related to the internet explosion? And it's not. I'm going to have to show you now. Okay, so when you discuss the digital era, has it been responsible for the decline of membership? Is it directly responsible for the decline, or is it because the internet's available and each member can get anything they want from the internet? So are they related at all? My belief is they're not, but it may have an effect on the thing. So what we're going to do is remind you all about the Clivia Club and the societies, look at the digital media, and then I'm going to discuss this life cycle, which I believe is responsible for the problems we have. And it's a natural life cycle. Every club, society, political party, doesn't matter what it is, has a life cycle. The duration of the life cycle depends on the place. So I believe we're also in a place where we need to do something. And then just reminders, locally 9 Clivia clubs, some interest groups, overseas 4. And remember, of those 4, well, we have USA, UK, Australia, New Zealand is like half dead, 3/4 dead. And then Europe is useless. The 3 or 4 members there have joined Steve Hickman in England. So Steve Hickman's managed to keep his membership about 30. Australia's gone from 150 to 50. USA has maintained the 50 membership. Europe is basically, you know what the trouble was with the formation of Europe? They never had like Art van Voos as a representative who collected the funds of Europe. Europe paid directly to Saki in those days. So there was never a collection, never expectation to go and get membership subscriptions. So basically, we've only got the 4. So what does the society offer? The role of the society is basically to fulfill those functions that the clubs themselves don't want to do individually, or it's no benefit because we'll duplicate the publication and then we'll have double of nothing is nothing. So that fact is the society will do publications, judging, we'll go through them now and see what happens. So look how it's changed, how the publication started with Nick Primich, A4 paper. In that day, we had postal service. So they posted to each other. They replied, they sent questions and all these type of things. So over the years, it's changed to black and white. And just by the way, we've got Meg Hart here. For 10 years, she was the editor of the black and white publication. And then the first color one was 98. That was the yearbook 1. Okay, and then what we realized, the number of printed copies every year, what happened in the beginning that It's just, we won't say who, but they overproduced. And now I am sitting with publications that come, they store a whole room. And just as an aside, we've realized that those books, we must just hand them out. Don't bother at this stage to try and sell them. Initially, they were distributed at clubs, you could buy more, and then you could make funds. We used to make money out of the yearbooks and all this type of thing. But it's at the stage now where people couldn't be bothered to buy the books because you really have to buy all 22. So if you want all 22, like dear old Stevie's bought all the books, and he's one of those collectors. There are people that want a hard copy of everything. So they are few and far between, and now the general public, they'll want growth on clivias, hints on this, and all that type of thing, how to grow clivias. And you could, in fact, just have a single A4 and say, yeah, conditions and all that type of thing. So any club, the publications form, and I'm talking about the generalization because I've had to read about this subject for months. And every club depends on the publication as the hub. In the same way, the Clivia Society is the hub of the online society, the publications are the hub of the clubs. So look now, in the good old days, 1,800 printed. Now that's not 1,800 members because those days they printed more and they sold them to the clubs. When you sent out the books, they said, would you like extra for your show? And then you order 20 or 10 and then you sell them for 40, 50 rand. But now we're sitting at 600 hard copies. And that 600 includes extras. And they're all the extras at my place. The second thing that the club does offer is the website. And for years, the society struggled to get an active website. It was pathetic looking back. And they had a website, and then it was one of those webmasters that sold the data and this and that. That's how we started. And then they had these robots that apparently domain blockers that load you down, and then they empty your data. And then your site's got nothing. It's blocked until the next data's, and it really was a disaster. So fortunately, we met Marilyn Paskett, and her job is maintaining various websites, and she uses WordPress. So she took over everything. She's also taken over all those domain names and all that thing. I think maybe she's paying. I'm not sure if I'm paying. Okay, so she's taken over everything. The only problem with a website, it's a static website, meaning you can't interact. You can't, like with a blog or a forum, because the ideal, look how popular the forum was initially. I know like Cora loved the forum because, you'd say, listen, I've got this problem, and immediately you get an answer. But it's amazing. The forum was such an advantage, but it took a month before people started fighting, or they start criticizing, or they become personal. And instead of saying, want this, it's just, is it human nature? I think if the last two are here, they'll still kill each other. Anyway, the fact is there's no forum and there's no blog. So the whole website is not interactive, it's not dynamic, so you can't go on there, but you can find an enormous body of information. But it needs somebody to update, say, the cultivation tips, this tip, that tip. So we load all the newsletters on there, and I did look, and I saw they don't load the last year newsletters, because the argument previously was, if you put all the newsletters on there, why join a club? So that was the reason for blocking initially. And if you go onto the websites, the advice is, on the web today, you must be transparent. You mustn't hide these things. They want transparency, but we haven't been totally transparent there. So we're still withholding, I think, 1 yearbook and 3 newsletters. And just remember, like they say, if a potential member can find everything that he wants on the website, he doesn't need to join. So you've got to offer something in addition to whatever he's looking on the website to make him join. So that magic thing we need to find out. And, if it was so simple and we just said they want and I know here for today, a lot of people said it's so lovely to see physically other people, to talk, to chat. And we wish that that is the appeal of a club, is the socialization, then get a lecture and everything. But it can't be the answer because there's too much apathy. People don't go to the club meetings. You'll get a small group. Then they argue, oh, well, we're all 3/4 dead. That's why. Some of them in old age homes, some in the graves, some can't drive. There's always a reason why. Why don't the people go? Oh, they've got families. They've got an event. They've got this. So, and I'm thinking myself, I mean, it's pathetic that I've been at that club, Joe, 23 years, and I've never missed a meeting. So if I can manage that, I'm not saying, but it's not an ideal situation where we are, because it's a one-man thing, and it's far from ideal for any leadership skills. It's the worst type of thing you have. So I'm not saying it's wonderful, it's pathetic. Okay, so just to mention this website, you know the website, if you can go and log onto the website and find anything you want. Say I've just decided I'd like... just for argument's sake, a plant. And then I can go to Clivia Kingdom, I can look there, if they're selling offsets or whatever. Or I go to Chubb's or Liz's, whomever, and see the various offerings. And obviously it's out of season, this and that. But, you know, if you had them listed on the website, it would be a composite website. You wouldn't have to look anywhere else. But, you know, that would require a lot of work to update the website that would compete, say, with the North American or with anything, with the Australian. And you go to cliviasociety.com, you'll find anything. But it requires continual update on the latest technique. Say, like for Dave's water story. Do you believe in it or not? Or do you think he's deluded? Probably deluded. No, but I mean, theoretically, you could include that talk. And then you could go there and say, I wonder if we should try it. We're living in Los Angeles and there's no water there. Let's try. But for argument's sake, it opens your eyes. And according to him, it's believable. And there were other people that have tried, or not in such a scale, perhaps just a saucer to retain the water. But it is interesting to be made aware of it, and then we've got to, because he presented it and it was so convincing, maybe it does work. But we're not going to try. Okay, so the website, seriously, if you had a forum on that, and there was some administrator who was prepared to sit there, and every question that was submitted, to immediately reply to that. You know, I've got a problem with leaves. And then if you had theoretically a standard note to say, dry leaves, they all say, why is my flower not coming? You know, you can want to vomit when you have to ask that question again. I've got this thing. Is it potassium? Oh, no, it's not potassium. Is it this? Oh, it's genetic. It's the wrong time of the year. And, you know, you just read and you go into what's in the Clivia Club thing, exactly the same question. Brown tips. Oh, no. Anyway, I think that's why you don't stay in a position too long. You get the repetition and you feel, honestly, I must go. Because, you know, they say, why don't they, you know, they come to a club meeting or they come to the show. Don't you think you should have an information table? And then you actually, your brain just wants to blow that did they not see those 4 people sitting there at the front with books and everything? They never saw them. Anyway, that's life. Okay, and then just for the website, which is quite interesting, the Clivia News. I mean, they've really, from the time that Meg published the Clivia News, those editions are all included on the website. And what is remarkable, if you just took the trouble to go through them, you'll find articles that have like the thing of that photograph. They said, who said the photograph? And there we found in 1890, the photograph was taken by somebody, and Felix had included in the article. So it's there. It's just a matter of accessing them, looking at them. In fact, it's such excellent reading. You could actually relax with that article because you'll find somebody says, who's Anna Mayer Peach? And I think it was a year or two ago, Lena Mayer wrote a whole article on Anna Mayer. And then they ask, who is she? But they haven't read. And I think it's a fault of all these Clivia News publications. They just want photos. Look at the photos. And I remember one year, whatever it was very scientific. It might have been the time of Roger Fisher and Dixon. And they said, I can't read a thing here. There's nothing worth reading. It was pure scientific research and everything. So you need a balance. And obviously there's nothing wrong, because others will say, there's just photographs, where's the meat? So it's so difficult to satisfy everyone. And it's disheartening doing that, because while we're on that, if now I must criticize Andre wherever he was, he suggests what we do, but does he ever send an article? Does he ever discuss the issue in a Clivia News? How difficult is that? Raise the issue, spread the news. Where is it? Nothing. Just bring it up at a meeting. That's bull dust. You know what I mean? If you want to raise the article, discuss the article, you can write an article. We're so desperate, we'll even take your grandmother's recipe for milk tart. Okay, and then just the unfortunate part is, you know what happened? We had all these publications, and then what went and happened, some brilliant one of our members felt that these digital publications were filling up the computer. So they deleted them because they didn't want them on their computer. Now we sit non-digitalized publications. So now what we have done, we've got a complete set of everything, but scanned. Now, I heard somebody said that they can convert scanned documents into digital production. Apparently, there is a program, but then you've got to go and check that it correctly interprets. So the trouble is with that. Now, if you want to say, where's Paul Klook's? Now you can't find that because it's not in the register. It may be manual, but it would be fantastic to say, I want Paul Klook's article on that worm, whatever it's called. Now it's not digitalized, so we can't just find it. But if the search button was included every single thing. There are indexes of search, but unfortunately it's not easy, because we can look up Paul Klook, and then we can look, and then we can't find that article. Or it doesn't say Klook, 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 Klook. It's like he wrote about personality, Paul Klook, so it's not under Paul Klook. There's so many incorrect or different or difficult things to interpret on that particular search site. Okay, and then just to remind you, this register of plants, it's on the website. It was a separate thing run by Ken Smith into the ground, and then it was now incorporated into the website. And it is fantastic, the work she's done. Unfortunately, what Marin's got to do, you've got to use, what do you call it, a plug on that website. You've got to find a suitable thing that has a similar requirement, that you need the register and everything. So she found one. The only difficulty is when you go down to, you choose like name, cultivar, breeder, and then there's a place there, but it's not highlighted. And then when people go there, they don't realize you must put the name there. And it's just a learning curve. If you're involved enough with it, you'll realize, just put the name there. Okay, so that's fantastic. Right now, tell me, when like Carl gives me Bellboy by Button Down Crush or something, now who the hell are they? You know what I mean? If I was familiar with Bellboy, I might realize. But the thing is, they're foreign names, and then you suddenly deal with Ding Dong Cha and what? Where must these names be found to mean? And I've got a cross. And what is this? If I knew it was a yellow by a yellow in group one, okay. But no, so I don't know why let's just say we, don't register our new names. Every year they're new hybrids, new names. Is it so difficult to just put them on the register and for argument's sake say Coty, it's this, or photograph and I call it Coty, or whatever. There's no restriction on what you need to register. But if you wanted to say, I'm going to look up Bellboy, no name. So then I have to phone and say, Carl, what's Bellboy? What nonsense? Is this a waiter or something? But I'm just saying it's so easy to actually take the trouble, register the name there, and it's very easy to register. You need a photograph so you can say, oh, look, it's a yellow, even though it's called Black Boy. You know what I mean? But it's interesting. I just feel it's so sad that all of us are responsible for not utilizing the facilities you've got. And the other thing is posts. Anybody can post. Every club can post their club's meetings. They can post their shows. So is it the fault of your membership secretary? And it's not my fault for not asking you when your meeting is. As the editor, I'm not looking anywhere. They can close the place. No, but the fact is, the responsibility of the club to submit to be included. And it's not me anyway, it's Lisa Fox. She's the administrator. But I also have access, and I can just say, post Joburg Clivia Club this afternoon. You know what I mean? Or not in this next week. I can, and the topic is this. And there's no reason why you or no other club, because if you did, everybody would know. Go and look on that website, the post. You'll see events. Oh, look, the Free State. I'm going through there, and I'm going too fast through there, so I won't go there. But you'll know there's a meeting on if you happen to stay over. It's so simple, and it's just, I think it's just a lack of enthusiasm, apathy, neglect, overlooking. You know, they all argue that the membership secretary is the most important member in any club. They know exactly what you do, when you joined, when you renewed. They know everything about you. They know you're going to a meeting. You won't be here for a year. You're going to visit your sister, or the child's had a child, or what. But they know whether you've renewed or not renewed, or even, let's argue, you can't afford to renew this year, and you say, fine, we'll overcome that problem, and you don't have to tell anybody. You just say, don't worry this year, whatever it is. It's in the membership secretary is responsible for everything, and they should be integral, the most important actually person in the club. And I remember the bad old days with Lena van der Merwe. She ran everything. She ran the treasurer. She ran everything. She had a bit of a chip and said that nobody listens to a woman, so everything I do through Bossy, because he's a man. Then they think he did it and I did it. But she'll let you know she did it. But she'll let me know, not everybody. It only passed through because it was my thought, my doing, whatever. So that is how some people work. You know what they all say? The worst thing anybody can have in a club is politics. And it seems like from the day you're born, there's politics. And it's no matter what you do. Now we've got a Facebook page, and it's been there forever. And there's no reason why any club is not using this Facebook page. And you know, when they start bringing in personalities, I understand. But the fact is, it causes problems. So which is the chicken, it doesn't matter. You know, they'll say, okay, but it's run by so-and-so. It's run for their own benefit. But it doesn't stop you listing your function on the Facebook page. It's free. Just list your winners. You can list which your plants are, when your show is. And, you know, they posts on the website and Facebook page. The more you use it, the more people become familiar with the fact that you have got that particular promotion on. So you could go to Facebook page and say, oh, there's nothing this weekend. Or you can say, oh, China, they've got a meeting. Or wherever, if they just bothered, and you can post pictures. Or, you know, I know for example, you've got the Northern Clivia Club, and I think there's lots of Cape and, you know, chat groups. But, and I'm not trying to promote that you must use the Clivia Society. And then a lot of people complain, oh, but it's on the Joburg Clivia Club, it's on the Northern Clivia Club, it's on this. And I'm sick of seeing it in 20 places. And you know, it's your own free choice. But the club is different if you post your own picture. That could be, but a club event won't be, the more it's publicized, the better. If you want a show in the second week, we want to advertise. Everybody must know that your show is on that date, rather than saying, what date? When are you having your advert? So publicize the thing. And I mean, I just think it's total laziness, or incompetence, should we say. But remember, I'm also guilty of all this, that I'm telling you that you are guilty of. Okay, and that's the Facebook story. And then this is another common shared function of the society. So remember, the society, despite the fact that there are 3 people or 2 people, they are covering a lot of the things, but obviously they're not doing it alone. So because now the demand from the clubs, no, we don't like the way he judges, it's subjective. This is his uncle, that's his aunt, that's why they won the prize. So then what they tried to do is a standard. Then they thought, no, these judges are incompetent. So they got a judging panel. They taught them how to train, how to this. So there's more and more rules, which I don't think there's necessarily good. But whenever you want to introduce a standard, you have to have rules. And it's funny, everybody wants rules until the rules are in place, and then they don't want to stick by it. But that is exactly why clubs fail, because that bureaucracy making you rules, and then the new generation comes in and says, no, I don't like the way they think. And that is bureaucracy, and that's why the clubs go down, because they can't accept the present rules. And then let's cover the digital media. What is fascinating, it only started around about 2000. Facebook, 2004. Now imagine how well that Zuckerberg has done. 3.3 billion users. And why do we use Facebook to advertise? They claim they've got, where are the millions? Anyway, they claim they've got about 2 billion people to advertise on their platform. And when you want to boost a particular event, they target it like just around Joburg, within 50 Ks. How much do you want to spend? Spend what you like, how long you want to spend it for. Should we do that? It is so clever, and it promotes your particular show. And it is targeted to those people that are like-minded. It's those days, I mean, I know I've heard of people still using posters and poll ads, and it's a lot of physical work that. And also, you know what I mean, when you have shows, if you're able to keep the same venue year after year, it does help, because, you know, some people say, oh, isn't the Clivia show first week? Or whatever. But it's not that easy, because to get a venue, a reasonable venue, and in a good position, you either pay or you don't get it. So it's more and more difficult to get a suitable venue. The schools are useless, because now the whatever you call the administration doesn't want to allow you to occupy schools, or what they do, on a Sunday it's for church service. And the church is there every Sunday, and you only there once a year. So who wants you? Okay, so, and then just look at this Facebook, 500 million in India, USA 6, so India is double almost of the USA. Smartphones, which we can't do without, were released in 2008. And it's interesting, so we're about 60 million, I think. So they say 43 million use the internet. So everybody, even, well, I know my domestic is on the phone the whole day with music, I think religious. So you know digital media has expanded, and it's not going to stop. And you can see Facebook is more popular in the older group of people. The younger groups target TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. And the popularity is because we don't need to even talk anymore on the phone. Just to mention the Zoom sessions, you know the society pays for Zoom a contract, and it's a contract that's not limited by time. So anybody is free to use that facility. You don't have to end your meeting after 45 minutes. You can continue as long as you wish. Even if you use it and I'm the host, but I'm not there, you can still share slides. So there's no difficulty in having Zoom, and well, obviously you can do it 45 minutes, re-log on and carry on for another 45 minutes. But if anybody wishes to use Zoom, they're welcome, anytime. Just have to let me know what time you want it, for how long and how many hours. And and so now the disadvantage, there's always, whenever you have fantastic news, you've got to have some setbacks. And then that's obviously fake news, hacking. And what is interesting, this addiction story, they say that people are becoming so addicted to digital media, they in fact don't do their ordinary work. They're more interested in communicating, looking, even if it's porn sites. And then the health issues, which is quite interesting, they reckon that research has been done that some people prefer to communicate with digital means. They don't even want to meet physically anymore. And that people are now having difficulty communicating eye to eye because they're so used to digital. And obviously it depends when you start. If you start using digital at a young age, that can happen. For the older people, like you, not me, they won't have that problem. But what is remarkable, if you see the stats for the duration that a person spends on the internet, I mean, in South Africa, they said internet, I think they must be including their jobs. It's like 9 hours a day. And that's South Africa. But I think it must be the job is like 8 hours, then they go home and use the internet again. That's why I didn't put the figure on, because I was a bit doubtful about that. And then, of course, the abuse with bias, politics, hate crimes. Now, this is what I think is our major problem. Every organization, political party. So even this, we could argue, the ANC grew, it went to its peak with maturation, and now it's definitely in the decline. It's not as popular as it was. So we started with the idea in 94, 93. We grew very rapidly. We got to our maturation phase, and you tell me, where do we think we are on this graph? You tell me, Andre, you're not scared to say. So Andre would say that we are a little bit on the decline. Would other people agree or disagree? Do you agree we're a bit on the decline? So have your first tablet. Okay, so to recognize where we are on this cycle, you need to know where you are and then make the decision as to perhaps what the remedy is. Because if you're on the growth, you don't have to say, listen, we get more people to help us organize. That's on your growth phase. Your maturation phase is different, and there you have your bureaucracy. The more bureaucracy, down you go. So if you can accept that we are on the decline, then you have to remedy that. Otherwise, you've got to have reinvention or death. Finished. So it's as simple as that. So somehow, and there's no easy solution, how you reinvent is no simple thing. But like Carl, he's got these magic words. You need a appreciative inquiry. Doesn't that sound good? We'll need a retired judge or legal person to chair the board. Okay, so we've got that. We've got the life cycle, the popularity, that's the growth phase. And then we had the maturation. And it's funny, the maturation comes about because of the members. They wanted structured organization. We can't just walk like this. No, you must tell us. We want to have rules. You must have a constitution. You can't just behave like that at the show. No, you've got to abide by these rules. So we get a constitution, that's fine. Now you must abide by the rules. And the publications that have changed from a form of communication, but we've got other advanced things. Now remember the communication was useless now on a written thing. When will you get the answer? Months later. So now the WhatsApp is ideal replacement of that. So now the online hub, we have the website, the competition, and that's what happens when we have competition. I must beat you. I must win. So this is the competitive side of the maturation life cycle. And with maturation, bureaucracy comes in. Bureaucracy with the red tape, with the conflict. So new members, they might say, or old members will say, I'm not happy the way they run us. They tell us this, they tell us that, we've got to do this. I don't like that. So then you have a group of people in conflict. So when you have conflict, when you have red tape, to more than one group, for example, Dave's doing the color chart, and I decide, no, Joburg is much better than they. They're clueless. They're giving these colors that you won't even find in a Pantone color range. So now Joburg starts doing it. It's duplication, and it's a waste. And when you duplicate, you waste. That's all part of the story of bureaucracy. And what is quite interesting, this story, imperialism, it sounds like really, but it's basically if people want to grow the club, to take over other people, to take over other people's position, expand the power, that is also part of bureaucracy. And then the decline. So that decline starts. Now, the decline will only result in the demise of the organization. But there's the opportunity of reinventing to turn it around. And it all depends, this reinvention depends on the product you have. So I would suggest that the society, or let's say the clubs, there is a product that is worth salvaging. The everything that we have got. They've established the websites, everything. So my belief is that it is worth saving and salvaging for what we've got. We've got a huge content, but something needs to be done. So I just wanted to say we've got a strong core, and I presume that you are probably part of the strong core, or maybe some of you. Maybe some of you were forced to come. So let's say 50% are a strong part of the core, and that core is what will keep us going, that will reinvent, that will help with the restructure, and whatever it is, because it's going to be difficult. There's no one solution. That's the sad part. We can't say, get rid of the committee, get rid of this, and you'll be reinvented. But you know yourself, who helps with anything? No, I've got a stall. I can't help you there. No, you set out the tables. Now, the poor sucker who's got to set out the tables, the chairs, pack them away, doesn't have a stall, but must do all and then still store the stuff. And we criticize the commercial growers. They walk in, they sell, and they go. But, there are also advantages of the commercial growers. So everybody has their pros and cons. And if you want a good display, invite them. And the fact is, the commercial growers, you also charge them for that particular service that they get. And obviously, it depends how. And just to raise the issue here, it's interesting. We heard a lot of criticism of the Cape and George about their commission structure wanting 50%, 15%. And like Pretoria started, they charged commission, but they found so much fraud with the declaration of how many plants you had. They said, no, I had 50. Meanwhile, they brought 100. But the Cape is different, and probably George, where they actually, when you go out, but it doesn't stop you saying, declare here's a receipt for 50 Rand. When you meet them outside, you take the rest of the 1,000. You can overcome anything. So if you want to. So to overcome those trouble, the administration, and I don't know how else the rest of the people do it. We just, and I know Pretoria does, we do a fixed fee, 1,200 Rand, pay it. And then if it was necessary to renew it, we would. But I know Joburg, the treasurer felt, we've got enough money, we are tax exempt thing. We don't want more money in the bank, so we're not asking more until such a stage there should be a problem, because we've got to pay for the venue and it must be covered. Okay, digital media, as you know, is here to stay. It'll increase in popularity, and I hope it doesn't take over, especially with this artificial intelligence story. And the role of digital media, it's actually an advantage in the Clivia clubs, in the Clivia Society. It is not destroying the Clivia clubs. Digital media, I believe, is actually complementing, and you can utilize it to advertise, promote, to communicate. There's such an advantage with digital media. You have access to internet. You have access to all information. If you want to go to, it's so fantastic. You go to Google Scholar, or you go to Dr. Google to find out what your diagnosis is, or you quote, Google says. So we've got such an advantage having internet at our fingertips. So irrelevant, I don't think we are. And my belief is that the digital era plays little or no part in making the clubs or the society irrelevant, and that the digital platform actually benefits the clubs. And my belief is that the problem actually we have is the natural life cycle of the Clivia Society. And we've gone, I don't know if we can include 93, we probably have to include 93. We grew, and I think like the last 10, 12 years, we've been on a gradual decline. And, you're aware of it with membership numbers. So, what's 93 now? How many years? 30. But we're bloody old. You know that the clubs are old. 30 years, a lifespan, it's actually good, because they used to say most of these organizations have a 20-year lifespan. So 30 is really stretching it, pushing our luck. So it's not a bad lifespan. And really, I do believe that the intrinsic value, product value of the society, of all the members present still, it's definitely it's worth trying to salvage. Okay, so now I've made you mention, so that word they use, appreciative inquiry, is basically probably getting somebody at a table, or I don't know on what basis or whether the clubs. It'd probably be better if you had a Zoom session and bashed about ideas and suggestions what you could do. And it's to find out, if you go and look on the internet, there are millions of ideas how to reinvent, how to get members. And like, you can go on examples in the Rover Club, how they've rebooted it. And it's basically often basic stuff. If somebody doesn't resubscribe, you must phone or first notify them. And the idea is personal follow-up. But these are basic things. And you'd think maybe they're a waste of time, because why they leave, you can do an exit interview, but there is no magic way. But there's obviously something that needs to be done to reinvent.
When I have a moment to say something at our club meetings, I start off something like this. I'm 104 and I'm the youngest person here. Have you noticed the age that we represent? Is it just what's happening in the world, or has something happened? I mean, I didn't start at the club this age. Where are the young people? Have we got, except for some of our honored guests. I'm just wondering if it's just, that's also just part of the way the world's going, or we're missing a trick.
Andre, we hoped you didn't bring that up, but it's true. But remember, the youth have grown up with computers. The youth know that you don't have to go to a physical meeting. You just go onto the internet. If I want to see what a plant looks like, internet. Instant gratification. But if a youth or a young person has a garden, if they have an interest in the Clivia, so the promotion is actually education. They're hobbies. Everybody wants a hobby. So whether it's Clivia, stamps, or anything. But if it happens to be Clivia and they go onto the internet, they will then either look there and they'll be satisfied. They won't join. So the only hope you've got of recruiting is actually publicizing. You know, the facility is there. Whether it results in the attraction of people is another story. But Jean, I mean, you're probably the youngest. Are you 70? Oh, sorry, 40. But, you know, there are some young people here. So it's not the end of the world. It's a way in which perhaps we need to either make it attractive. And I don't think it's financial, quite honestly, because it's not that expensive to become a member. Whether it's the lectures offered at a club, and perhaps the youth are not interested in socializing so much. You know, you don't go there to have tea and coffee or mix with the people there. If you make friends and saying, I'm going to see Betty, and that's a different matter. But you must quote that oft-quoted John van der Linde said, I joined because of the Clivia, and I stayed because of the people. So now I think you joined because of the Clivia and you left because of the pigs. Other questions? Any other question? Yes, Chris. And let me just tell you about Chris. Now, Chris, he phones only when there's a problem. And then he wants to form about 100 committees. You know, then I listen to this and I think, oh my God. And we can't do this. And I've studied the website. And the rules, and the Clivia Society says this, and the Clivia Society says that. Then I say, listen, Chris, the society says that. It has no jurisdiction over any club or enthusiast group. So all they can do is try and persuade or encourage people to abide or use the rules that we all decided upon. So he said, no, it's my accounting background. I want it cut and dried and everything. So I thought, what a person. Anyway, I went and visited him, and he actually was quite human.
Glenn.
Yeah.
You tried to convince that the Clivia clubs are not relevant or not successful. What is your measurement? Is it only counting numbers? Or how do you firstly decide we are successful or not?
More than one way of assessing whether you're successful. By attending, if we had 300 people here, would you say we're successful? If we only have 50, we'd say we're less successful. So it's not sudden. It's a gradual tailing off of everything. It's just that we have come, for the first time, I think we've actually acknowledged there's a problem. So we are aware the membership goes down, down, down. So the membership contribution goes down, down, down. The number of people at clubs goes down, down, down. With the clubs in the country, I'm well aware of lots of problems with renewal, with voluntary, with participating in anything. There's apathy. So I know that the overall thing is down. Because I've been involved so long, I'm aware that there's definitely a loss of interest or a drop in interest.
But I would think the activity goes up and up and up. There's lots of new development in Clivia's. There's, if you look at sales, if you look at new colors, if you look at where we started at 1993 or whatever, where we are today. So, it's like having a show and you say, if you have 200 plants on the show, you're not successful, and you have 400, you are successful. Not necessarily. Sometimes it's about quality, sometimes it's about reaching your objectives. So I don't totally agree with, we going down. Numbers we're going down. But there's a lot of other things that are pretty alive.
Look, what you're mentioning is valid. The core group of people is breeding and producing most unusual colors. I agree with that. The sales figures, the number attending, everything else is down. So I've already taken most of the money out of the society. Okay, let's leave it. Any other question?
Listen, you guys, I've just got admiration and respect and thankfulness for what these people have been doing for the Clivia Society over a very long period of time. So I know what they've been doing, I know what they've gone through, and I don't think we appreciate what they've done. So let's give Glenn a hand for what he's done for the last 15 years. And that's not all. What I would like to say is there are more human things that we should tend to. I've been exhibiting in Brooklyn Mall, and the lonely people that come up to you and talk to you for half an hour, and you've been the only person that they've talked to in the last 3 days, we miss that. There's more to it as well. I think the influence that the Clivia Society and the Clivia people have had has expanded. 100 times more influence is exerted from this group of people now than 20 years ago. Do you know how far and how wide the information and the influence spreads? And I think everybody here should feel proud of that. What membership, I think we should think of clubs in a new way. A club is a new thing now. We shouldn't compare to what clubs were 20 years ago. Club membership and the needs of people have changed, but I think it's a big success and it's growing. So don't worry too much about what's not happening.
Okay, I disagree with you, but it doesn't matter. But the interest is growing amongst a few people, but it's not attracting more people. There's a core group of breeders that are doing very well, but it's not spreading. There's not new blood coming into the society. The youth, you look at this here. There's one young person there and that's it. No, Sarah, you young. No, but there's very few young people, and I don't even know if you're interested in Clivia, but are you interested? No, but seriously, look at the youth. I don't say it's the end of the world, but it may be in 10 years' time. Sorry.
I've been listening this last sort of hour, and we've got the same problems in the UK that it seems that you've got here. We exhibit on all the sort of RHS shows, of a lot of you know. The biggest problem in UK is getting the lack of exhibitors. Every show in the UK is struggling to get enough exhibitors. Chelsea, right the way down to the smaller shows, struggling. Nearly every society and club is struggling to keep membership up. I'm lucky with our business because my son and my daughter are going to take over, so I'm not worried. But what was worrying me, and I think you should be thinking about it long term, is what's going to happen to all these fantastic plants which you've got, which is why I come every sort of year here and the friendship and everything. But what in, say, 30 years' time is going to happen to your personal wonderful plants? Who's going to be continuing the breeding and carrying on who's got youngsters to continue the work, or friends to continue your personal work in the hybrids and improving? That's the question. The youngsters need educating and encouraging to come into the business to continue it on. So okay, arguing the short term, is the club doing well or not? Look over the hill. What's going to happen to long term to your hybrids in, say, 20 years' time? That's the question.
I spoke to Liz, and I said to Liz, aren't you worried what's going to happen to your plants? I said, are your children interested? She says, they're not interested. And what was probably a wise comment, Liz just said, I had enjoyment with my plants while I was alive, and I enjoyed them fully. And she's not, and like myself, why should you worry what happens when you're dead? You're dead. They can make compost. What does it matter? You enjoy them while you're alive, and you must enjoy them. That you appreciate. It's like life is so short. You know, what does it matter? Your physical possessions. They say, what are you going to do with your paintings? I said, who cares? Oh, it doesn't matter. You did. No, you know what? You must actually know then before you go, maybe the good Lord will, if there is one, will let you know you're going to be dead soon. So start giving your plants away.